Good evening. Good evening. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to SheLovesThee Podcast. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. Tonight's show is special because a lot of times, hey, Miss Shanetta, hey, Jay, a lot of times I focus on HBCU sports, but I never really delve into alumni affairs. And I think that having these types of conversations, even if you're not a Jackson State alum, is so, so important. Finding ways to become engaged with your alumni base, finding ways to make sure that people's voices are heard. And so tonight, I am going to introduce you to Sedric Myers, and he's a Jackson State alum. And what we are going to do tonight is we're going to have a conversation. And that conversation, even if you're not a Jackson State alum, you're still an HBCU alum, and it's important for us to have these types of roundtable conversations, right? And so I will be introducing to and bringing up Mr. Myers, and he's just going to tell you a little bit about himself, about his background, his Jackson State time that he was there as a student. And then we're going to open up the StreamYard, and we're going to have conversations, and we're going to be talking about some of the things that are important to alums. I also have a poll, and we're asking for everybody to participate in the poll. And the poll, it does say Jackson State, but it does not have to necessarily be just Jackson State. So as an HBCU alum, which is most important to you? We have about 66 people that are currently watching right now. Make sure that you share and let people know that they are welcome to come and join in on the conversation. The 4 choices that we have is alumni engagement, mentoring and professional development, fundraising, and then inclusive and share governance. I'm going to go ahead and bring up Mr. Myers. How are you doing tonight, Mr. Myers?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm great, great, great. I want to first thank you for reaching out and giving me this opportunity to utilize my platform to start having these types of conversations.
No, I think you. I mean, more conversations like this need to be had. Um, we need to be talking all the time.
Yes. So, Mr. Myers, would you like to just go ahead and we have folks in the chat and they don't know very much about you. So, just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background, what year you graduated from Jackson State, and then let us know why you are running for National Alumni Association president.
Hello, all. My name is Sedric Myers. I currently reside in Houston, Texas. I'm a class. I'm a member of the class of 1991 from Jackson State University. I am a commercial sales manager for an environmental waste management company. Um, I implement sustainability programs and specialize in the oil and gas industry. Um, my leadership in JSUNAA compiles serving under 4 terms of 4 national alumni presidents. I'm currently the first vice president of the National Alumni Association. We're serving as second vice, regional vice president, as well as 6th-term president of the Houston area alumni chapter. I was named the alumnus of the year in 2016 and was inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2017. Some of the I say accomplishments just that I have been able to be a part of in this association has been the spearheaded the development and launch of the JSUNAA mobile app, but also led the initiative to integrate the mobile app with the website data management system that we have currently today. Which has provided a tremendous help from my membership database, as well as our financial heartbeat of the association. Co-chaired the PCI Director and Membership Initiative, and also preparing for an OR documentary in reference to this PCI documentary. Currently now, and also been a part of many sponsorship and other external stakeholders to secure additional funding for all our activities and scholarship that we provide for students. Those are just a few.
Okay, sorry. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. It just shows that you've already know the ins and outs of Jackson State University's National Alumni Association. It shows your dedication and your commitment and your growth. I am interested in finding out, though, about your platform. We are going to open up a roundtable, so I don't want to necessarily ask you a whole bunch of questions that keep you long-winded, but you're running on the platform A Voice for All, impactful change, collaborative partnerships, and inclusive leadership. Can you tell me a little bit about what you mean when you say impactful change?
Well, my vision centers around, as what you said, a voice for all. Is anchored in the principles of impactful change, collaborative partnerships, and inclusive leadership. This platform embodies a proactive stance toward enacting transformative transformation within our association, driven for the imperative to address the diverse needs and aspirations of all alumni. By fostering collaborative partnership with stakeholders and promoting inclusive leadership, We aim to ensure that every member of our alumni community feels valued and empowered to contribute to our shared mission, which is, I think, is probably the most important. It's so important for us to be an alumnus of Jackson State, to be able to contribute to the sustainability and just the livelihood of our university.
I totally agree. A strong alumni base helps make a strong university, because the alums are ultimately the ones that are giving back, that are reaching back and gaining those partnerships, and basically bringing a liaison between Fortune 500 companies, between the community. So that I definitely think that that's important. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the StreamYard, and I'm going to go ahead and bring up a couple of people that are interested in starting off the dialogue and the conversation about what it is as alums that we are interested in looking for, interested in building. What are some things that we can improve on? What are some things that we're doing well and that we just need to expand upon it? So I'm going to go ahead and bring up Jerome Books, Dr. Daria Lawrence, and Hezekiah Williams. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves, a lot of I know Jerome and Hezekiah, we see you sometimes on these platforms, but Dr. Daria, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Hi, yes, I would. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Daria Lawrence. I am the most proud graduate of our esteemed institution. I graduated in 2012, and I'm currently located in Memphis, Tennessee. I am a speech and language pathologist, and I own the company Lead the Talk, which is a continuing education and company for businesses that need communication solutions, or speech and language pathologists, educators, and school districts that need continuing ed. I've joined this roundtable tonight because I'd love to shed some light on some of the issues that as alumni, believe that Jackson State is in a prime position to address, and that I feel like there's probably a disconnect in between the generations that are pushing forward our leadership and those who have recently graduated and want to give back, but we're not quite sure where we meet in the middle. So I would like to think I want to hand some insight into that, but that's my introduction. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. And if you hear barking, it's just my fur baby seeing a butterfly outside or something.
Hey everyone, I can go second. My name is Hezekiah Williams. I'm a graduate of the Jackson State University Engineering Program. I was a biomedical engineering graduate in the year 2021. I'm currently a PhD student at the University of Notre Dame, and my focus is material science and engineering with an emphasis in bioengineering. I work on gold nanoparticles and methacrylate for longitudinal imaging for non-invasive surgeries. I'm joining this panel just to inquire more about Mr. Sedric's platform regarding the young alumni and technology.
Thank you so much for that, Hezekiah. Jerome, would you please introduce yourself to the panel?
Absolutely. Good afternoon. Well, good evening, the I Love family. My name is Jerome Brooks, proud alum of Jackson State '06. I currently reside here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am a corporate banker here in the city, very involved within, of course, our alumni in the Metro Charlotte area, and currently serve on several boards, including Queen City HBCUs, which is a conglomerate of all 40 HBCU alumni chapters here in the Queen City. But I'm so excited to join this conversation just with respect to identifying some areas of opportunity for our National Alumni Association, as well as for Jackson State University, and how we can, of course, piece all the pieces together to build a stronger brand for Jackson State. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So that is our panel. They're going to start it off. We're going to have this conversation about impactful change. collaborative partnerships, and inclusive leadership. And then after the conclusion of getting the ideas from Dr. Daria, Jerome, and Hezekiah, we would like to actually open it up, whether or not you would like to send a question. I am going to open up on the YouTube for start a Q&A. So if you have questions for the panel, you can submit those questions and then I will ask those various questions. So if you have any questions for the panel, just submit those and then we'll go from there.
Hey, so I'll go ahead and kick us off. So one thing I wanted to bring to the table, Jackson State, one thing that we do very well as a community is we provide various spaces. And I think we could definitely ramp it up a bit. I know last night we all enjoyed such a wonderful conversation with Coach Tamika Reed. And one of the things that she brought up is something that we've been talking in our circles over the last couple of years, and that's mentorship. And just to be a bit more specific, I would love to see spaces for our engineers. You know, in 2002, when I came to Jackson State, that was the first year that we had launched our engineering program. So here we are 22 years later. We've of course produced countless Black engineers, so much so that we're the nation's 6th leading producer of Black engineers. So I'd like to see a space just for them to be able to network, fellowship, but also to provide that space for them to give back to those engineering students. And I want that to be kind of replicated throughout every other discipline at Jackson State, whether it's the College of Business, Education, School of Music, et cetera. We have quite a few alums, especially young alums, and students who have aspirations of going into the healthcare space or into the legal profession. And as you guys know, we have countless alums that are in those spaces. So I would love for the National Alumni Association to develop a space specifically for all those different entities, including, of course, the military. You know, I was reading an article a couple of years ago. Jackson State is among the top 3 universities that produce the most Black commissioned officers into the military. So I would love for them to have their own space. And I say all that to say because one of my mentors, Morehouse's national president, President Cousin, he told me, he said, you know, a lot of times alums, especially young alums, they travel in packs. And if you can connect with them, they're going to bring about 10 or 15 of their classmates with them from their department. And they're going to be more apt to actually give back to their department if they have a space created for them, as opposed to giving generally to the general fund at the university. So that's one thing I would love to see within the JSUNAA, to be able to provide those spaces for the alums, but also more so for the students when it comes to professional development.
Okay.
And Jerome, I think you have hit it just right on. You're right on point. I mean, time, talents, and treasures. That's what we need. It doesn't matter if you active or inactive. You could be a mentor. You could provide some resume writing skills, training. You can participate in just career development. I mean, I think there's a place and a space for every alum that's associated with Jackson State University and any HBCU. I'm definitely an advocate for HBCUs, and we need everybody. We need everybody's help to participate in this. So that is definitely a priority of mine, in order to make sure that we have those spaces and places for all alumni. And it starts with having a voice, having conversation, understand the needs and the wants of our alumni. I think as leaders, if we're not listening, we're not being a good leader, because we, at the end of the day, we work for you. You guys put us in these positions, and we're supposed to listen to you. So I'm 100% about, creating those spaces and opportunity for all to be very inclusive, and as we get more involved and increase our engagement in all our alumni activities.
I want to step in and add something on the back of that. Jerome and I talk often, and I love the conversations that he and I spark up because they do inspire critical thought. As a speech pathologist, 3%, only 3% of speech pathologists are Black women. And Jackson State is one of 11 programs in the country that has a speech pathology program, both undergrad and grad. That is a phenomenal number. The other side of that, however, is that while Jackson State might graduate 30 to 35 students in speech and language pathology, probably 4/5 of those students will not make it into graduate school. And that's not just a Black grad student thing, that's across the country. The tough part, however, comes in where speech pathology, like a ton of professions, have hidden codes and rules of access. And you don't know how to get into that or how to navigate it unless you've been that way. And from the Alumni Association standpoint, when we think about collaborative work, I think one of the most important things that I think we need to have an open discussion about collaborative work is that I think some young alumni have been concerned about where do we fit into the grand scheme of things if we're not making $200,000 yet. We can't write you the check for $10,000, right? But one thing I think that we could do, and one thing that I think that needs to be explored and advertised in a major way, is that we talk about, yes, mentorship. Mentorship is a beautiful thing. It's a great thing. But what's also a really good thing is when that professor lectures on a specific topic in that industry and they haven't been in the industry to do it live time in a while, but we have a Jackson State professional that has, and we invite them in to guest lecture. And here's the thing, we forget that we're serving our young Black students, or even non-traditional students, are an underserved, underrepresented population, a population that has experienced fierce amounts of inequity. But Jackson State is a place where we make things happen. Look at how many things we've done when they haven't given us what we needed. That's why I tell anybody, I don't particularly care what you have to say about my university. Look at what rooms I'm in, and I came out of Jackson State. If anything, I am in this room because I came out of Jackson State. And so I think we forget sometimes that experience is one of the best teachers that you can have. And us as professionals, we have knowledge that is valuable that can be handed back to those students. We need to figure out how to harness that from alumni and get it to students, whether that's through mentorship or seminars or what have you. And on the other side of that, I would like for us to appeal to alumni to do some goodwill. And by goodwill, I'm going to blatantly say, you donate your time for free to your university, because this is how we build as we climb. We can either build a good, strong future now, or we will be sitting here paying for it forever. And those are some things that I am deeply and fiercely devoted to for my own profession, because we need those things. But I think the alumni that are available to do it, we don't know how to get in to do it, because a lot of us, for me, myself exactly, our connections that we had in our academic departments are gone. They retired, they moved, the departments changed. We don't even know who to call. So we need some help getting connected in, and we need someone to speak on our behalf to say, hey, to the professors, we're trying to set up more connections for our students. With alumni who are willing, we need you to respond to them. So we need a connection there, because there are alumni like myself. We are not only willing to do the job, we are willing, ready, and able and desire to do it. We just need the connection to get us in the door. And we'll do what we have to, because we're not just fighting for ourselves as young Black men and women. We are fighting for the grandchildren that are to come. We're fighting for Jackson State's legacy, and that's a much higher calling than it just being about us. So that's what we want to see, or at least personally, that's what I want to see for our future.
So other than the connections to the back to the department, what other kind of barriers that you see that's holding us up from really connecting with the students?
I think one of the biggest things is that honestly, a lack of innovation. We haven't quite efficiently figured out how to get creative to each one teach one. So for example, let's say that a professor has on the syllabus that there's a group work day, right? That might be a day that they don't come to the course, but that would be the perfect day for an alumni to give a guest lecture on how to apply a theoretical concept they learned in class. That's the perfect time to do that. So instead of having this learning experience where you have a group project where the students may not even do it properly, give them experiential learning that not only meets them where they are, but they are actually able to collaborate with each other and talk through it. Ask questions to an industry professional, get real insight based on up-to-date standards. And not only that, they've made a connection with a professional that if they need to have questions on how to get connected once they leave the university, they can do that. Because some of these professions need that. And not only that, we cannot continue to make education more expensive for these students. They're there to learn. And I've decided, and it's a personal investment for me. I'm going to give you what Jackson State blessed me with. I had a full ride to Jackson State. I had a full ride for graduate school because of the education I received at Jackson State. Dr. Maria Harvey, God rest her soul, ensured that I had a good enough background at Jackson State that she made sure that I got into the internship program that would get me that education. She fought for us and put us in the best positions for that. It would be less than our duty as alumni if we did not do it for these children that come behind us. And I say children not because they are, but because they're younger. So for me, it's deeper than just, oh, I'm an alumni, I give back. No, you have a duty to help these kids make it to where they are. And as a personal vendetta of mine, I don't critique what I'm not willing to fix. So if I'm going to say something about it, I'm willing to step in and do the work. But we need a connection there somehow. How that looks, I'm willing to problem solve. But I think more experiential learning experiences that don't cost these kids more money would be a great way to start.
Hey, awesome. Great feedback. And I'm taking notes. This is the type of conversation we have to have and continue to have because this is the only way that we're going to be better. And look like you want better. If you want better, I want better. Because that has been my whole thought process. We got to do better. And so,
and the other thing, and I specialize in finding learning solutions for students who have experienced inequity, trauma, disabilities. If there is a will, there is a way. And Jackson State taught me that. If there's a will, there's a way.
Wow. Thank
you. Figure it out.
Thank you. So I was just sitting here thinking, and I was just like, okay, so let's think of a tangible way that we can not necessarily reinvent the wheel, but use what types of avenues that we already have readily available. So we know that uncf.org has tons and tons of internships. So it looks like in collaboration with students when they get internships, Jackson State needs a development for a big brother, big sister program. A lot of times students may not know that they have alums in the city that they're in, or that they have alums where they're interning at. And so I think that it's important that the Alumni Association in all these various cities and all these various chapters build up or maybe compile within the stuff that we already have. So the way that you guys already communicate, maybe building on the side of that a platform where alums can say, hey, just like Dr. Daria said, you said you're in Houston?
No, ma'am, I'm in Memphis, but the fun fact about that is my Zoom works from anywhere. So
right. Okay, so we can use Zoom, but also just having those relationships or having students having access to know I can reach out to my Memphis alumni chapter and say, hey, I'm doing an internship here. And then out of the alumni chapter, then you're able to basically link with someone who, like Dr. Daria says, checks in with you on Zoom. And if you guys are in the same city, goes out with them for lunch and says, how are you doing with your internship? Or how are you just doing with life? Because sometimes with students, I can remember that I was a marketing major, but I applied for internship to work at Walgreens. It was a management internship, and it was all the way in Atlanta. And, I happen to have family out in Atlanta, but having someone from that Jackson State Alumni chapter in the Metro Atlanta area just asking me, how are you doing? Where do you see yourself with this internship, or just guiding me, that would have been so much helpful in addition to the internship, because these companies, they have their own setup. Some of them are just kind of looking to fill those positions with minorities, but the things that students really need to talk about that a fellow alum would understand, they're not getting that. So to kind of like not necessarily make it that hard, reaching into our alumni chapters and building within that network so that students can reach out. I think that is a great way to do it in an effective way, and basically do it immediately, which is probably more important than anything else, is to have an immediate impact.
And I just want to jump in, to piggyback off of what Simona just mentioned. I think it's all about what we're doing right now is we're brainstorming how to change the culture. And I think ground zero with changing the culture is going to be getting these students, not when they're juniors or seniors, because by that time their mind is already gone. When they're freshmen, like as soon as they're coming in as freshmen, or even prior to that, as all the alumni chapters across the nation are doing a wonderful job of recruiting prospective scholars, really sowing that seed right then and setting the tone of this is who we are, this is where we are, and this is what we're going to provide for you. So I would love to see our JSUNAA implement whatever we come up with immediately when they come in as freshmen, because that way it sets the tone for the next 4 years of the matriculation. So I'd love to hear some thoughts from Sedric.
I'm watching some of the comments, seed planting, and I think for me, it has to start day one. And this is my vision right here. A day one look like. Day one for me as an incoming freshman is student move-in day. Why not JSUNAA use that as a day of service? Day of service is truly making a true impact with everybody, not just one or two volunteers from chapters, but the entire association come together on campus and assist with the move-in process, assist with being assigned a mentor-mentee relationship, and having programs that really just open up a true partnership, not only with the university, faculty and staff, but also developing that connection with our students on day one. So, and I think that really opened the doors for what we need to do from a long-term perspective to establish these real relationships and what it truly means to be an alumnus of DLove.
Also, and I see there was a comment about a day of service, and guess what? That day of service isn't just a day of service. It becomes a lifetime of service. That means when they call you at 9 o'clock at night because they're worried about the test they're going to fail, but they might fail the next day. When they call you when their best friend on campus does something they don't like. When they call you when they don't know how to navigate the financial aid office, because I know if somebody can't say amen on this call, just say ouch. Or when they call you and they say to you, I don't know what to do with these emotions and I don't know how to feel. You can tell them to go to the Latasha Norman Center. You can tell them that hey, I have never been where you are, but I can tell you where to go. It is those things too. So it's not just the physical part, but it's giving them someone to listen to, because we have to remember some of these kids are going to an environment that they have never been in, and we're expecting them to navigate it with no help and expecting them to get it right. And that's not fair to them. So we have to teach them the competency to navigate that environment. We can't judge them for something they haven't learned. So if we're going to critique it, we better also teach the competency as well. So I love the day of service, but don't just let it stop there. We need to see them more than just their first day. Show up some other times too.
Absolutely. We have to start somewhere, but absolutely.
Yep, you're right.
It's a lifetime commitment. I agree with you 100%.
Hey, Ms. Sedric, I can jump in here. So you have a stellar resume. You served 4 years, served under 4 JSU national alumni presidents. 25 plus years of chapter, regional, national leadership and service. 2017 JSU National Alumni Hall of Fame. 2016 JSU National Alumni Alumnus of the Year. And you've also organized successful alumni events like for the Orange Blossom Classic, Swag Me Act Challenge, Celebration Bowl. And you also spearheaded the development and launch of the JSU National Alumni mobile app. So what role do you see the alumni playing in getting the seniors engaged as an active young alumni group?
Seniors on campus?
Yes, seniors on campus.
Okay.
So
not my seniors alum, but my seniors on campus.
Yes.
Okay.
Jerome addressed it from the freshman side. I'm going to address it from the ones that are about to graduate side.
I think it's a lot of things that we could do, and we have to be very intentional with our students. And I think it starts with this day of service, this lifelong commitment that we need to establish with our students on campus. But also, I think our student leadership, and I say student leadership as far as with our pre-alumni club, as well as our SGA administration, should connect with our alumni association. I mean, we should have real student leadership on our board. And it should be constitutionally bound with that. This allows us to really have that direct connections and really understanding the concerns and the issues that our students have on campus. Sometimes, the biggest voice that Jackson State has right now is those students. The students control everything, and their voice is actually bigger than ours. So I think with that, you have some true coaching and development opportunities, not only from a student leadership, but also it should help us have a better understanding from a seasoned leadership from the Alumni Association to really connect with our students. So we got to figure out a way how we truly can connect them together, and we can actually, really expound on those relationships with our students.
And I just want to jump in, so just to kind of piggyback off of that, I think a really good solution to start bridging the gap, it would be great if we could have, I guess, to go along with the day of service, try to have, encourage all the alumni chapters across the nation to come back to campus on a specific day. It could be during homecoming week. It could be during 7 week, Alcorn, whatever. But if we can get the chapters, to be in the student union, they have their tables set up, they have their chapter signs there, maybe even on the plaza if it's a nice day. And that way, we're kind of bringing the alumni to the students, because as you guys know, Jackson State has a lot of students that are, of course, from Mississippi, but also a lot of students who are from outside of Mississippi, from coast to coast. And a lot of these students, their feedback is, oh, I didn't know we had a chapter in Oakland or San Francisco or New York or Charlotte. So if we could, bring those chapters onto campus, and those students can interact and they can see that table for, let's say, the Mobile chapter. And they're like, oh, okay, let me go over and talk to them, or the Birmingham chapter, et cetera. I think that'd be a great way to just kind of start that culture of change, if you will. But wanted to get some feedback from you about that, Sedric.
We have to be all in, and and to be honest, we have to take advantage of the high activity and the high engagement when alumni are in town, at the university. And homecoming, like you said, is probably one of the best opportunities. Even though a lot of them will come in early to participate, but once Friday night and Saturday hit, it's all over at that particular time. But I think we have to take advantage of opportunities when we're truly there in volume. And with that volume, we truly can make a different, impactful change in connecting with our students. Not only our students, but also some faculty and staff that may need our assistance as well. So we just can't leave them out. So I think it's truly a collaboration with the entire university.
Absolutely. I want to pivot real quick to something else I would love to see with respect to partnerships. I want to see a leader who comes to the table with experience in corporate America, experience with being in boardrooms, and experience with negotiations. One of the things I'm so proud of my mentor, he is able to, for their alumni association of Morehouse, he's able to broker deals nationwide with various companies who want to be at the table because of the Morehouse brand. And as we all know, right now, Jackson State University has the biggest brand among all HBCUs. That's well documented. So I'm pretty sure there are plenty of companies that would love to have a seat at the table with respect to resources and tools that they can provide, not only to the students, but also to our alumni. But it'll be a great way, of course, to further brand our alumni association. But I would love to see those skill sets within a national president.
I think diversity from a skill set standpoint is needed in all our roles and responsibilities on this board. And I can honestly say I have had the opportunity to not only be from in corporate sales, but I do a lot of my interactions with operations, whether it's someone directly in the plant or actually in the corporate boardroom, when you would say from that standpoint. So, and just being able to understand the various roles and responsibilities of people, and also just really just being able to communicate with all people, is a necessity in order for any leader success, with no matter what organization you're in. So I think I have I say many hours involvement in that type of leadership role.
Okay. And I just quickly wanted to welcome C. Venardo to the panel. If you would like to go ahead and introduce yourself, and I'm guessing you had a statement probably regarding the previous conversation, so you can go ahead and say whatever it is that you would like to add to the previous conversation.
Thanks for the introduction, Simona. Yes, my name is Christian Barnado. Can someone just kind of give me just a real quick update, maybe like 10 seconds or less, on what I missed before joining the call?
Hey, Simona, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. I'm on and off, y'all. On and off. I got my son here. Okay, so the first thing that we talked about was mentorship and professional development. So we talked about ways that the JSU National Alumni Association can help build that bridge and gap for the students by involving the association, getting some of our alumni to become mentors and becoming involved in these students when they're freshmen and sophomore on campus and in their respective majors, making sure that they are paired with someone during that time frame. And then we talked about students being actively involved in the Alumni Association, building a base for the seniors. So that way, when the seniors are transitioning out of college and freshly into the workforce, or if they're choosing to go to grad school, we're already building those connections between the senior students and them becoming alums. And I think he dropped off the call. So I'm going to redrop the link. I would like to invite Dr. Russi onto the StreamYard if she would like to come up here. Mr. Venardo is back, so I'm going to go ahead and let him speak. But also, Dr. Russi, because I think you have a lot of insight about the Chicago Alumni Association, and it looks like they actually have a mentor-mentee relationship type of deal already going on in that Alumni Association and that particular chapter. So that could possibly help give light on how other chapters can implement it. Mr. Venardo, are you there? Do families get out?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here, Simone. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, I got cut off there. Technical difficulties, but thank you for just kind of giving me an opportunity to just kind of speak real briefly on what we want to do going forward. It's something that I'm really passionate about behind the scenes, and I think that if we're marching to one drum beat, one the I love drum beat, it's going to only benefit us holistically. So just kind of like touch on the like mentorship program. Like I think where we're going right now, I think we're in a good space to kind of look at things holistically, try to look for ways to make sure that we are all on the same page as it relates to where do we want to go, where do we want to take the brand. And as Jerome mentioned, we have a national brand now that we did not have before over the last like 2 years, right? So we have to kind of continue to be that shining light on the hill to make sure that those of us that were before the prime era and those that started coming to the brand after the prime era or during the prime era, making sure that we're moving forward and make sure we're capitalizing on everything that's going on. Now, one of the things that I have observed, just kind of being an outside observer, is that I think that we have kind of lost some of our luster as it relates to, some one of those things of, you're kind of too big to fail, or, you kind of have that, you think everything is going well, but there are certain things that, we kind of, you look and see improvements that need to be made, but you kind of, brush them off because you kind of focus on everything else. But we have to make sure that fundamentally the infrastructure, the passion, making sure that we're not overlooking opportunities or letting the ball drop throughout different, areas of the family. So that way we can also make sure we're holding ourselves accountable to a higher standard, because being from Jackson, graduating from Jackson State, there is a standard that comes with that. And I think that over the last maybe 10 to 15 years, we've kind of lost a little bit of our fastball. And we need to get people back into the position, get people that's, fired up. These students that are on campus need to see that Jackson State, that when we say the I love, this is the reason why it's the I love. And I think that, having these mentorship programs and having students to understand that, it's a privilege to be able to put on that blue and white. It's a privilege to be able to kind of go out into these corporate environments, research opportunities, to be that student that has the Jackson State name behind it, because, we stand as one, but we come as 50,000. Anytime you're out there representing your institution, no matter what your profession is, you need to be thinking about, okay, I'm doing this. How can I bring whatever I'm seeing, whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm achieving back to the school so somebody else behind us can take advantage of it. Because if we stop that process, then you're going to start having gaps and you're going to start going 5 to 7 years without a student being at this company or a student not going to a particular graduate, not, going down the entrepreneurship route. We have to make sure that we have a consistent pipeline of alums constantly coming on campus, constantly re-engaging with faculty on campus. So that way we're bringing fresh ideas and we're continuing that pipeline. Because if you look at some of our other counterparts, and when I say counterparts, I'm not just talking about HBCUs. I'm not just talking about folks in Mississippi. I'm talking about a national platform that we do have. So we have to make sure that we're always staying cutting edge in our mindset in the way we go about doing our business. Like times are changing. Times change every single day, and we cannot get comfortable with being comfortable. We have to always push ourselves to go beyond, to stretch ourselves, and sometimes it starts at home. And I'm gonna say this: every single time there are gonna be people that may have to kind of shift positions so that way they can operate in their strengths instead of trying to operate into what they like. And that's a tough conversation for a couple of people. So you have to make sure that we have the right people on the bus, and the wrong people got to get off the bus in order for us to move the ball forward. So I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna go ahead. That's kind of like my opening spiel. I'll yield to the panel for additional discussion.
Wow. Hey, I want to jump in. Very, very well said. I'm over here taking notes along with Cedric. Thank you, Christian, for providing that feedback. I want to, kind of piggyback off of what Christian said. He said it is a privilege to don the blue and white. As you guys see, we have an alum, DeMarco Morgan, every morning on ABC, or Good Morning America. We recently here in Charlotte had an alum who was honored by the Charlotte Business Journal as one of the top 25 women in business. We have, of course, Diana Williams. We have professional athletes. We have individuals in almost every industry in America as top performers. It is indeed a privilege to don the blue and white. What I would like to see with respect to Christian's remarks about branding, I would love to see the JSUNAA as well as Jackson State highlight more of these alums that are in these spaces doing exceptional work within their industry. Because I feel as though even here in Charlotte with 100 Black Men in Charlotte, their motto is if you can see it, you can be it. And I feel as though that's a part of changing that culture. If we can push more of the achievements and successes of our alums, regardless of your industry, these students will be able to see it and want to actually emulate it. I also want to kind of pivot. There's something that I've noticed with students at certain HBCUs with respect to, let's say, A&T, Howard, Hampton, Morehouse, Spelman. When you go on their campus, the culture there is very much so of a go-getter culture. Those students are hungry. And what I mean by that is they're very active on LinkedIn, on how to navigate LinkedIn. They're very active with reaching out to alums in various industries. They were very active with how to network with each other and developing soft skills from their professors, as well as alums and industry experts. So I would love to see us model what some of those best practices look like at other campuses and bring that to Jackson State with respect to, I guess, via the National Alumni Association.
Jerome, you once again, you just do what you do. One of the first priorities that we have to establish is a sound communication plan that encompasses recognition, engagement, from all aspects, whether it's social media, email, a podcast like this. We have to be able to listen, and hear from you. And if we don't, we fail because we have to be able to communicate in a way that we can mobilize instantly. If we can't mobilize instantly, our brand is nothing. If we're going to be Jackson State, if we're going to be VI Love, let's be Jackson State and VI Love. And so that is one of the first priority that has to take place is, just a reset on our communication platform.
I can jump in here on the same tone that you just mentioned, Mr. Sedric. I have one recommendation. Maybe at career fairs, the Jackson State National Alumni Chapter does an excellent job of advocating for the university as well as, our student body abroad and even nationwide. But when I've attended career fairs at very other, colleges or, for example, some, symposiums, how about we reflect or we model other universities in that our JSUNAA representatives also attend Jackson State's career fairs in the sense that we engage with the student body and we say, hey, you all can get connected to this corporation, this company, this group through us. And we have the links, we have the internships, we have the fellowships, we have the platforms, and we can connect you all as an avenue, as a middleman.
And I just say, why not? We should be able to. And, and with more conversations like that, we will. It's just a matter of just bringing everything together and having some, not only conversation, but a real plan to implement what we want to do. Everything is possible. Because at the end of the day, we are Jackson State. We can do this. And this is just like low-hanging fruit. This is what everybody else do. So why we can't do it?
Awesome. And see, my thought process is it's not that it's what everybody else do. For me, I don't care what everybody else do. My thought process is we're Jackson State and we take care of home. Absolutely. So while we have alumni that are talking about what positions they've made it to in that company, my next question is, okay, you're in a C-suite office. That's wonderful. How many Jackson State alumni are you hiring this year? How many programs did you call at Jackson State to see if we could get someone in here? Did you call Jackson State to say, do you have a summer intern that I can take? Is there somebody? I know we have to have an alumni somewhere. We have FedEx here in Memphis. And every time I talk to someone here in Memphis, when they say we're looking for an intern, first question out of my mouth is, what degree do they need to have? What program is it? Hold on just a second. My first call is to somebody in Jackson State's network up here. Do we know someone? And if they don't know someone in Memphis, I'm calling somebody in Jackson because we gonna get somebody from Jackson State in there. Because we need to start putting our students in those positions because we sometimes are the inline track. And when we get them there, here's another thing we do for them. We need to negotiate for them because they might not know how to do it. We need to say, hey, he's got to move here from Jackson. He's going to need $15,000 in relocation expenses. He's going to need the rent signed up for. He's going to need this. Take care of him because you know who else does that? Some other counterparts of ours in other forms of business that get taken care of. If we are going to do what we're asking these students to do, we better be ready to fight. I don't know if y'all can tell. I come out swinging. Because this is the battle of a life right here. We're fighting for our future. And I know for a fact, my father did not integrate a high school in Mississippi for me to sit here and not fight. Also, I see someone asked how to get a hold of me. If you Google my whole name and put Memphis, Tennessee behind it, my phone number will pop right up, y'all. But those are things, and I'm so passionate about this, Mr. Myers, because I love our university and what we stand for so much. Jackson State is a university for preachers and teachers, the innovators of all things. Look at how far we've been into that. So what would we be as an institution if we did not cultivate learning, if we did not innovate how people learn, if we did not make something out of nothing? When people say, oh, you went to Jackson State. Yes, I went to Jackson State, and I went to the #1 school in the country for my field, and they paid me to be there. What have you done lately? That's the kind of audacity that money cannot buy. That's the stock that we come from. That's high price stock. So we hold that up for our institution and make sure our students have the best of everything. If you're not willing to fight for that, I got to wonder why you're here. I do.
Well said. Well said. And you know what, Dr. Daria, while you were talking, I heard the word communication. And that's an area that I'd like to pivot the conversation to, because some of the feedback that I've received from alums locally and abroad is that they have indeed attempted to connect with Jackson State, various departments for internships, mentorship, support. But the communication has not been the best. That's an area of opportunity. So I would love for our next leader of the National Alumni Association to be able to develop those relationships with Jackson State to foster a better culture of communication, because essentially we're leaving money on the table for our students. And number two, with respect to communication, one of the variables with a lot of these college rankings is the average income for students within a 5-year span. I feel as though a lot of our alumni are not reporting their actual salary back to Jackson State for whatever reason. I would love for our National Alumni Association to be able to foster and encourage alums to communicate with the university in that aspect, because having a more finite, salary range is definitely going to help us when it comes to these rankings. So with respect to those two variables in communication, I would love to hear maybe some of your thoughts of it.
Once again, we although I think we really have a true sound relationship with the university, but it can be better. But it has to go not only from the top, but it has to go walk down to the bottom as well. We have to have a better connection with the faculty and staff. We need more involvement from faculty and staff, because they are, in direct contact with all the students on campus. So, and I think as we be able to relate and connect with the faculty and staff, there can truly be a true impactful connection, not with faculty, staff, and the students. And it would definitely open up more avenues for coaching, development opportunity, mentoring, just all of the above, just unlimited resources, because they're hearing directly from us. They have a direct relationship with employers, employees, managers that can not only assist the students, but maybe can assist them as well. So we just have to start doing different things and just being more proactive and intentional in order to make this thing work.
So piggybacking off of that line of thought, does the alumni group have conversations with the student body, the faculty and staff, and the administration annually, or like actual sit down council meeting sessions, closed door meeting sessions, or public? If not, we should definitely do that moving forward. And that's like a town hall.
Yes, we have communications, but we need to have a different type of communication. Something that's more structured and detailed and intentional as far as what we want to discuss.
Gotcha.
I want to piggyback, just kind of circle back. Dr. Daria, I have a question for you. You mentioned that you were able to transition from Jackson State into grad school, and you stated Dr. Harvey was instrumental in that. For any students or that may be on this live, or any parents or alums, can you provide maybe some details of what that transition looked like, and what type of program that was, and maybe some hurdles that you experienced once you got to your grad program, and how do you overcome those? I think that that'll be very beneficial.
Okay, Jerome, because you probably have heard the story and you've seen it, it sounds more beautiful than it actually was. However, to the quick version of it is Big Ten schools, and I don't know how many of you, and I think it's the Big 12 now because they've added in some other ones, but think University of Wisconsin, let's see, University of Illinois, Chicago, that range of schools. They have this program called the Summer, there we go, Miss Carrie, Summer Research Opportunities Program. When I was in school at Jackson State, Dr. Harvey came and pulled me out of one of my classes towards the end. And she said, you need to go to the student union and talk to these people because it's a summer internship. Well, it was more than a summer internship. What it ended up being, it's a program that's designed for McNair scholars and minority students that come from minority institutions, so Hispanic serving institutions, HSIs, or Native American serving institutions, or HBCUs, to have opportunities to delve into research in Big 10 or 12 schools. At the time, and this was back in 2011, they flew me to Ohio State University. I got to do research on autism diagnosis with one of the top professors in the field. They paid for me to fly there. They housed me for the summer, paid me $3,000 cash, prepped me for the GRE. And then when they finished doing that, they then paid for all of my graduate applications to every Big Ten school that I applied to, which meant that no matter how many of them I applied, I didn't have to pay out of pocket for any of them. In addition to that preparation, when they had me study for the GRE, I spent the rest of the time for my senior year studying to take the GRE as a result of that action that Dr. Harvey took to get me into that program. And I ended up getting 98th percentile scores on the GRE, which would then land me a full ride at the University of Wisconsin, where I got a $2,900 to $3,300 stipend in graduate school. And this was 10 years ago. Well, this was fall of 2012, so spring of 2014. And at the time, and it still is at sometimes, University of Wisconsin is the #1 school in the country for speech pathology. It was the first program that was designed for the profession and it awarded the first PhD. So I was sitting in a classroom with people who said, well, I got into this university because my professor knows someone. And I got to sit in that institution and tell them I got in because I was smart and I'm good. And it was just because Dr. Harvey pushed for that for me and impressed that upon me. And then 9 months into my experience in Wisconsin, I would have what happens to a lot of African-American graduates, unfortunately, is that gun violence will happen. My cousin was murdered in Memphis. I was 1,000 miles away from home. My mental health took a nosedive. My graduate program was unyielding. And it got so bad that I actually had to have some legal support to finish school. And I'll never forget, I called my mom and I said, Mom, if I quit now, then they will think that everybody that comes from an HBCU can't make it. And I will not have that happen on my watch. And even though my professors at Jackson State, said, well, Daria, we know you're smart, you can come back. I knew at that time it felt bigger than Jackson State because I was determined that even if I didn't hold up for myself, I was going to hold up and show that my university produced quality students. It was bigger than me at that point. So I did what I had to do to get out. But I also had that experience so that I could then turn around and mentor youth that came behind me and said, I need you to go to this program and get what they've got. But when you go to this other environment, let me tell you what you're going to need so that when difficulty comes, you're prepared for it. Let me show you how to deal with this. Let me show you how this works. And so I think having those avenues where we prepare students to apply for those programs, letting them know that those programs exist, or better yet, calling our connections at them programs and telling them, hey, I got somebody applying for this program. I'm gonna need you to pull that application first. And not only that, get the interview questions from them and prep the person applying, because we know that that's how this works. A connection is only good if you use it and if it's valuable. And at this point now, we need to be using them. But even though my graduate school experience was fraught and difficult in terms of, and it was traumatic in every way that a young Black person could experience, including having the police called on you and having a vehicle searched for someone who's never been in trouble, I still thank God for that experience, because now I have that to share with those that come behind me. I have that knowledge to say to them, you can do it. Don't quit. You can do this. If you're good, don't let them run you out of this building. You will stand and you will hold, and we will stand behind you. Now, what do you need to stay there so we can get you that? But don't run. There are people standing here with you, and knowing that there's an army of people behind you. Or if you say, I just need to know someone from home, calling someone in Milwaukee saying, hey, we got a grad that's in Madison. Go take them to dinner. Go look and see if they're all right. We need someone checking on this person. Get up and move. That's a tank of gas and a $50 meal. We've spent more money on less things. But those are the things that make the difference. And so Jackson State is more than just a college. Jackson State is the way that we connect and we further our legacy. And it's the thing that we build on. What could be more beautiful than that? I owe my professional career to Jackson State. I'm actually sitting here right now, 34 years old, regional director for therapeutic services in the state of Tennessee, the youngest director in the state, the first one that's Black to hold my position, submitting a case study tomorrow on research on how to do assessment on children who live in poverty to help decrease inaccurate identification. And I got that passion from Jackson State and working at Blackburn Middle School right in the backyard. So if Jackson State has given me nothing, then it has given me passion and beautiful things. And if you think I won't fight for our institution to share that with the generations coming, well, wrong woman. I know what I'm supposed to do. You just got to tell me where to shoot.
Well said. Well said.
It is what it is.
So I just wanted to quickly give like a overview, because I think that I love the way that this conversation is going. But for me, I think it's so important to have tangible, when we walk away from this conversation, Mr. Myers is looking for tangible things that we can implement. And I think that the discussion is absolutely great. But what I would like to see is us make headway on how these things can become possible. So someone in the chat was talking about how we already have things that are implemented to help increase the level of memberships in our alumni association. And one of those is they were stating that, and Mr. Myers, you can speak on this a little bit, that you already have implementation of seniors that are graduating get 1 year free membership into the Alumni Association, graduating seniors. Is that correct?
Yes. All graduating seniors and even grad school students receive a complimentary membership for the first year once completing graduation. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And so is that something that needs to be expounded, needs to the increase? Because I know that one of the things that Jerome was speaking about, and Hezekiah was also talking about, the younger alums becoming more actively involved in the Alumni Association and having that voice. So because you already have this type of program that's already implemented, is that something that needs to be publicized more, or what can we do to grow that? The number of students that actually are taking advantage of this membership?
It's automatic upon graduation. The implementation of the initial complimentary membership is really not the issue. The issue is the retention part after the first year. And with that is really being able to connect our students, our new graduates, you know, to a mentor, mentee within the association, whether it's a chapter or just a regular active member, I would say, because it's all about involvement, engagement, and just getting people to participate. So that's probably the biggest challenge, and but that challenge is something that we can all own. And I know we probably all have some ideas on how to manage that particular concern. It's really just trying to more so understand the dynamics of. I saw something in the chat that, we have a lot of students that not gaining, I would say, great employment once they leave Jackson State. So that's a concern as well. So some members probably can't even afford membership into the organization after their first year. So I think it's more conversations to be had in order to really just get a real good handle on how to move forward. And those are things, I'm soliciting conversation, ideas, or just solutions or whatever in order to us to attack that issue.
Yeah, I'd like to tackle that one. So, young alumni engagement is an issue among all national alumni associations, HBCU and PWI. Working with some of the A&T alums here in Charlotte, one of the things that they brought to my attention is that young alumni, they walk, talk, dress, act, move differently than someone that's 10 years removed from the institution. So what they've done is they've created a space specifically for young alums. I know when I was at Jackson State, there was a organization called, I think it was developed by Aaron Thompson. It was called AIM, Alumni in Motion. And Alumni in Motion was specifically for young alumni to have a space to where they can network and fellowship with one another, but still be connected, directly connected with the JSUNAA. So I think it would be very advantageous for the JSUNAA to create that space, as we talked about before, just specifically for young alums. And they can network and they can, do what they do, but still have that direct contact with the JSUNAA, with the general body.
Yeah, let me pick it back on that. So it's actually both issues, Mr. Sedric. One, which is what Timon was saying, which was the communication side. Because I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I was heavily involved in student government. I had no idea. Seniors got 1 year free for the JSUNA, and it's also from the second side, which is retention. So Miss Dr. Daria's story was so heartwarming. When I was at Columbia, brief background on me. I had the opportunity to graduate from the HBCU fellowship at Columbia, which is a full ride scholarship, or fellowship rather, for graduate school, through Dr. Gilda Robinson, who was the McNair Scholars Coordinator at Jackson State University. So big shout out to Dr. Robinson. And also the Harvey Du Bois Honors College, Dr. Pamela Hurd and Dr. Lord Gordon, all of them. Big shout out. But I want to say this. So if it wasn't for Ms. Drina, Mr. Oja Twiner, Darius Kennebrew, in the Jackson State, in the alumni chapter in New York, through the Celebration Bowl party, I wouldn't have even known, seriously, I wouldn't even known to get active within the alumni chapter. So just connecting with the members in that area, connecting me to the heart of the Alumni Association in general, right? Which is y'all, y'all of course care, but y'all care about us, and that's the biggest factor there. That's the missing piece. Are there forums that recent graduates can attend, or celebration parties, or events, or even conferences that we can attend that are publicized while you're in undergrad? See what I'm saying? Or even having a station at the graduation ceremony. Hey, join the National Alumni Chapter. Sign up now. I think those are potential solutions as well.
And this is basically right along the lines with a submitted question for the panel. Mr. Turner says, at times there's a gap of confluence between grad eras. How would you go out, bridge that gap for all alumni to be on one accord? And I think you guys kind of spoke to some of the things that have happened to you. But basically, it's that communication barrier. And Miss Muriel says, regarding engagement of young alums, host a webinar led by a chapter who has successfully engaged young alums so other chapters can learn and duplicate the success. I do know that there's been a couple of alums from the Chicago chapter, and they indicated that they do have already a mentor-mentee program. So maybe they would have some insight on the engagement of young alums and how to bridge that gap. And D-Law says, I will say this, it's harder to find the younger generation when you're in a larger city like Memphis. Many times someone else finds the students first and sends them in our way.
Yeah, that's me. So being in Memphis, I think it's been more of it's interesting because we find students like that. But here's something else that I also think when we talk about a value, I think of it as a value add. Oh, wait. Oh, goodness. Are you talking? No? Okay, sorry. I'm looking at the screen was still lagging. But I think of it as like a value add, maybe hosting events for young alumni to come to that enrich them like in other ways, like even like Bible studies or things, something like that might actually draw the younger generation out or draw them in so that they can have a sense of community in other ways. And it's just not just alumni business or things like that, or having even like a community group. So I think sometimes too that you can do other events like having a First Fridays or something like that, as opposed to it just being that. I think that's something that could work really well, is if we just try doing different events instead of it just being like just a chapter meeting. I think that could help.
Hey, I want to piggyback off of that. So, with respect to you said bringing, if we can identify what cities has a trend of young alums that are migrating to those cities, why not have the JSUNAA Fall Leadership Development Council meeting there, or a national convention in that city where a lot of young alums reside? So let's say if it's Atlanta, if it's Houston, if it's Dallas, if it's Charlotte, if it's Chicago, why not have annually or biannually a meeting there that encompasses everything that we talked about tonight? Of course, we got to do the business of the organization, but also incorporating a true national conference that has a lot of different components to get engagement increased among those young alums. I think that'll be a great start as well.
And Jerome, I mean, you hit it again. I mean, I was in Jackson last week, and I think every person I talked to, they had something to share with me about the midwinter conference meeting that Alcorn had, and how well it was attended, and just with the different programs and activities that they had. So I know we can do better. We can do better, and we will do better. So duly noted on that particular concern.
And just to add a little bit more to that, I know the alumni of Hampton and Howard, Morehouse, Spelman, they annually go to the Hamptons for a big networking, social type of vibe. There's another school, I'm not going to mention the name of this live, but they have what's called Be Out Weekend in Atlanta every year. and alumni from across the nation, they come and they fellowship, they have parties and just a lot of good fellowship to increase and retain membership, but also engagement. So there are other organizations, other HBCU associations that are pivoting and moving their national conferences and discussions to larger cities where a lot of young alumni actually reside.
And guys, seconding everything Jerome is saying, the impact that Ms. Drina, Darius, Mr. Olger, those individuals had, and those are JSUNAA members in New York. The impact that they had on my life was monumental. During that time in my life, I was going through a lot, being the only African American student in a lot of my classes. And through their fellowship, I was able to, succeed and make significant change in it, even win the top award at Columbia. So you all's, you all's effort, you all's impact, you all's influence matters, and it helps, my generation tremendously, just knowing that you all care. So y'all's effort definitely doesn't go unnoticed on any level.
I have a response to a question I see on the chat, but I think I would really like to answer. It says, "Do the alumni mentor students about student loans?" And this is a number one problem. So I feel like I would like to speak to this one. I cannot speak for other alumni about mentoring on student loans, but what I will say is this. The process of spending money and how that happens in someone's life is tied to cultural and family beliefs that all the time we do not know the origin of, and that can be very specific to that person. However, on the other side of that, as an alumni, if we realize that a student has they have student loan debt, I think as an alumni, what is probably a good thing for us to do is to give that students options for figuring out how to either A, find an employer that will pay it off, B, whatever program will discharge it for them, or C, help them figure out realistically what that looks like for them. Because some of us have navigated student loan repayment programs or have navigated ways to get it discharged. I think at the state that student loans are at now, I think we're past the point of saying, don't get a student loan. That's just not an option for some people. I think where we're at now is we need to have careful conversations with students about, number one, you need to come to this institution knowing what you want to major in. Gone are the days where you figure it out when you get here. We can't do that anymore. This is a $65,000, $70,000 decision. We cannot waste money because you don't know what you want to do. And I think that's where the alumni can help on the front end. That's an immediate help on the front end. Is we catch you in high school and help you with that. So that's an actual plan right there. But the second thing is that an immediate thing that the Alumni Association can do is that we can possibly host up like virtual days where you get different companies to come in and talk about, if you work for us, this is what financial assistance looks like. It still requires an ask of alumni to donate their time, because if you won't give us money, you won't donate to a scholarship, give us your knowledge, and that's invaluable. But that is a tangible thing that we can do right now, right? Or we could reach out to different businesses that say on their websites, we see that you have this program. Have them come and talk to our graduates to see how many graduates we have would be suitable for working for them. But I think instead of trying to make student loans seem as if they're the devil or a demon, we focus on building the students so that they, number one, get in and out of college efficiently with the smallest amount of debt possible by knowing what they need to do when they get here. And then number two, we work to get them in jobs where they can either A, pay off the debt, or B, they work for someone else who will pay off the debt. And that's where we come in, at least I think. And so to answer that question, I hope that gives something. And we also push them, we also help them find an employer that don't go get that master's degree right now. Go to this employer because they will pay for you to go get it and possibly promote you once you've earned it.
Absolutely.
So giving them that knowledge instead, those are tangible things we can do right now. So that's something that I think, and also we can, somebody else wants to add on, I think that would be helpful too.
Yeah. So as you were talking, financial literacy is so important for not just Jackson State students and young alums, but just this generation of students in general. I know that Jackson State has a partnership with a major bank when it comes to financial literacy, but I would love for the JSUNAA to connect with alums who may be industry experts to come back, as Dr. Daria talked about, a guest lecturer, just to come back and teach financial literacy, financial wellness to students. And we start freshman year with respect to the importance of building and establishing credit, staying away from certain credit cards if you can't afford it, the importance of course, budgeting and saving, investments, talking about getting a 401k and being able to, contribute to it as soon as you get out of college. All those things are super important, but I think everything, that whole conversation really falls under that umbrella of financial literacy, financial wellness. So I would love to see the JSUNAA broker that deal.
In addition to, while we're brokering that deal, we also respect and honor that some of our students and their families grew up in positions where being financially strategic was not an option. And I think sometimes that's the part of the conversation that gets left out. And sometimes why there's a disconnect and why the younger generations may not listen to us older people, even though I'm not that old, because they don't want to feel like they've made mistakes when they didn't have a choice in the decisions that were made. So not only is it a open up the conversation, it is also a have compassion, make space, and make room, and teach from a place of love and service, not everybody, y'all all did this wrong, because we all know someone that took out more student loans than they needed to because family at home had to eat. And so I think we need to be, while we also do that, we need to be respectful of the fact that sometimes it just didn't work that way for everyone. So I'm on board with that, and I think we should do it. But bear in mind that some of our kids are beating the odds to get here, and we need to honor that as well.
And there was a comment placed on the screen that talked about the students, this generation being different, and that's so true. As I talk to young alums from so many different HBCUs, their mindset is, I guess our generation has that mentality of it's my duty to get involved. It's my duty to join a chapter, the National Association. But this newer generation, their mindset is, what do I get out of it? And we have to, I would love to see the NAA pivot and talk about maybe some of the benefits of being a member. Of course, we all know we get discounts, a lot of perks, et cetera, with respect to, being a member, but just some of the kind of intangible things that come along with it. Just having access to a great network of alumni that are in so many different industries, being able to be supported if you happen to be in a new city for grad school, et cetera. So I would love to see that from our NAA.
I think that is a great point. So I have some commentary that I would like to basically introduce, of course. And then I wanted to ask Mr. Myers a question. So one of the alums talking about their chapter and what are some of the things that they do to engage the students, having a trunk party where they talk about their majors, talk during the semesters, hosting them when they come home for the Christmas, Thanksgiving breaks, a summer send back. So basically engaging these younger students and letting them know that they do have a network of people that come from the same school that you come from, and creating that or building that bond so that they'll say, you know what, I want to give back, or I want to become a member of this chapter because I know what they did for me. So I think that that's important to highlight, is building the relationships. And when we talk about what is it that an alumni chapter can do for me and highlighting some of those benefits, Dr. Daria really highlighted it when she said that the alums are the ones that can make a call. We all know that a lot of times it's not necessarily what you know, but it's who you know. And so basically letting the students know that these types of relationships can place you in a position of success is important. Very, very important. But one of the questions that was in the YouTube Q&A, they basically, let me see if I can pull it up. They want to know specifically from Mr. Myers, what are some of the ways that you plan on implementing a relationship with our current president, and what can the NAA do to help with fundraising efforts?
I think the relationship with the president would just be a natural relationship. I mean, it's the obligation and duty of not only the university president, but as well as the alumni association president to connect, because we support the university and their initiatives, and we are. I would say from a donor standpoint, we're the largest donor base that the university has. So our voices should be heard in regards to the sustainability of our university. So, and there has not been a time that I have seen since my connection and involvement with the Alumni Association that we have not supported the president. So, I mean, we, at the end of the day, we are still Jackson State. We have to own it. And whoever sits in that seat, we have to support their initiatives and the direction that our university is going. What was the next question? From a fundraising?
Oh, okay. Yes. The next question was about basically fundraising efforts. Do you have any new ideas or new innovative ways for fundraising?
Well, fundraising is one of those things that it's a lot of conversation go back and forth with fundraising. Several months ago, we initiated conversation with the university, the Development Foundation, and the Alumni Association to come together and sit at the table and talk about our whole fundraising strategy. As you can see now, sometimes we're like every other week there's a different campaign going on. So none of the activities have no true strategy behind it, I would say, as far as our acts. So we have to do a better job of planning and initiating all our fundraising efforts. And so those are conversations that's going to probably be ongoing till we can actually come together and decide on what direction we're going to use as far as our fundraising plan. And a lot of that has to be controlled from the university because that's where most of our money, our donor dollars is housed at the foundation. So there's a lot of ongoing conversation. But I do believe if we was to really come together and be truly one JSU in regards to our fundraising efforts, we would continue to step on each other event when it comes to fundraising. It'll truly be one JSU, one event, and we capitalizing on all the different potential sponsors. We have dedicated time and I say a schedule for when the ask is for a day of the giving, a gala, or whatever it may be. It just won't be 1 week this, the next week there, or whenever. So it'll be just kind of spread out, and then we can, really put a formal budget in place individually to support our university.
And I'd like to kind of piggyback off of that. So Cedric, when you go back to have those conversations with the university and the Development Foundation, here's a kind of innovative idea. Most companies will match your donation or contribution up to $5,000 to your nonprofit or your university. So just thinking about, let's say, Day of Giving, we could easily double our results on Day of Giving if we encourage alums to give that donation through their company. So I think that's an immediate impact on how we can actually double what we're giving. Number two, I know there's something called alumni participation rate, and that is a very important variable. And I'd love to kind of hear you speak on that. But, if we're encouraging alums to give a different way, and this time through their actual company, I think that'll definitely help to maybe increase the alumni participation rate. And, finally, just I guess, as you mentioned, the different fundraising activities that are going on, it does seem to be a bit scattered. Like there's no true intentionality that I'm seeing, and a lot of other alums are seeing. So to your point, I would love to see more intentionality and more structure. And I think you just mentioned, maybe having set days throughout the year where everyone can give. But I think just the overall education of how to give and the why, I think that is something very important that I would like to see from the NAA. We talked about APR, that's the why, but the how, encouraging alums, as mentioned before, a lot of young alums, they're more prone to give towards the department that they matriculated in, as opposed to going directly to the university. So I think the NAA doing a better job of communicating and encouraging grads to donate, that we do have that space to where they can donate to the Sonic Boom, the cheerleaders, the engineering department, et cetera. I think for whatever reason, that is not being communicated effectively. And I think that could definitely help to not only increase giving, but increase our APR.
I mean, you're absolutely correct. And it all starts with education and communication. And I think as we become more transparent with really what's going on from a fundraising standpoint, we'll get better. The APR is real simple. It's the alumni participation rate. It's based off the number of alumni that donate back to the university. And I'm just a believer. If our alumni is engaged, they're educated, and we're providing some sound communication, that APR will increase instantly, because all the questions will be answered on how, when, and where. And it's not a consistent act. Sometimes, it feels like we begging, but it's not really begging. We really need the money. I mean, we really need the donors. We need the donation dollars. I mean, we need all that. But I think if it was more, like you say, intentional, has a true cadence, that's when we see the increase in our APR. And those are, just fundamental infrastructure that we need to be focused on when it comes to the APR. So I'm committed to making sure we get this right. And I think it's going to take more than just the Alumni Association. It's going to take everybody, because it affects everybody.
Absolutely. And I know we're about to wrap up, but I would like to suggest one more caveat when it comes to giving. not just within the NAA, but Jackson State. I would love to see the university and the NAA pivot towards more external giving, more external donations, more external fundraising. You hit the nail on the head when you stated there's quite a few alums that feel like we're begging, because I've heard the same thing from coast to coast. So it would be great to see our NAA as well as Jackson State show that initiative to the alumni base, that not only are we being proactive and seeking external funding from various spaces, various industries, but we're also landing those deals. And I feel that is kind of going back to my initial statement in the beginning. It's very important to have a leader in place that has that background and experience with being in those boardrooms, negotiating contracts, negotiating deals. So that's just my last kind of point of reference. That's something that I would love to see from the university and the NAA, someone with experience who can go in, who has those relationships and in corporate settings and relationships and resources nationwide to broker more external funding.
Great thoughts, Jerome.
Simona, are you still there?
I'm still here. Sorry.
Don't worry.
So, Mr. Myers, do you want to quickly talk about that? The collaborative partnerships that's a part of your platform, A Voice for All. And Jerome just spoke about utilizing corporations and outside donations for fundraising. Can you quickly talk a little bit about those collaborative partnerships that is a part of your platform?
Yeah, the collaborative partnerships is actually what we're doing right now. I mean, we have to get everybody involved, everybody engaged, whether it's through fundraising, whether it's through membership, whether it's with student recruitment, all the above. We need everybody to be a part and on board to our success. And if, our success means Jackson State University success and this National Alumni Association success. So we need you. We want you. And, it's truly about that DI love spirit. So, my ask today is not for whether you active or inactive. All we want is some time, your talents, and if you have the treasure, we're going to accept the treasures. So just work with us. Let's do this. Let's do this together.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody have anything that they would like to add? Just like closing statements that you might have, anything that you would like to ask? Thank you so much, Mr. Daniels, for your donation to the channel. I really appreciate that. Before we have closing arguments, I am going to place some of my, if you would like to donate directly to my channel to help invest and keep my channel going, I'll put that at the bottom. But does anybody have any closing not arguments? Sorry, I'm acting like we're at trial or something. Dr. Daria, Jerome, Hezekiah, or anybody, I'm going to drop the StreamYard one more time. If you would like to have something to say, to put on record, or just voicing your opinion. We had a lot of great chats, commentary in the chat. Does anybody want to come up and say something basically about this roundtable? Mr. Myers basically wanted to have this roundtable to have a discussion, to basically listen to all of your point of views and listen to what you had to say.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll jump on.
Oh, my bad.
No, you good. So I'll jump in just real quick. I want to thank you, Simona, number one, for providing this space. And also, it just kind of shows the diversity of your channel. So kudos to you. I also want to thank Sedric for this wonderful idea. I think this is something that we have probably never done as an alumni body, to create a space for alums to voice their observations and provide solutions and best practices. And honestly, this is not a space where we fed, Sedric a bunch of questions beforehand so he could. No, this is a space where it was open, organic dialogue, where we're just basically providing some solutions and feedback. And again, I feel like this is something that was much needed from alums across the nation. This is something that was asked for. And I thank you both for delivering and just providing that space. So I look forward to more continued conversation and it be more organic, just like tonight. And I want to applaud Sedric just for taking out some time to, connect with alums and speak to some of the things that are very important, near and dear to us. So thank you both so much.
Thank you. I did have a question, like a last minute question, which is, when do the alumni chapters get past raising funds for their individual scholarships into fundraising for the university? And someone answered in the chat and said the individual chapter funds are given directly to the university. Individuals get soft credit for their giving locally.
And to piggyback off of that, alumni chapters also fundraise towards their own endowment funds. So I'd say majority of the alumni chapters are fully vested with their endowment. So as we know, the endowment is controlled by the university. So we are, of course, directly and indirectly fundraising for the university in different avenues.
Absolutely correct. And we need that continued support from our chapters. And our chapters are wonderful. I mean, everybody's like all in when it comes to their local fundraising and even their support for the different initiatives that we have from a national standpoint. So thank you all our alumni chapters.
Okay. Hezekiah, you want to say anything in your closing?
Oh yeah, I was just saying this live stream is major. I really appreciate you, Mr. Sedric, for coming on and showing that, not only do you care about young alumni, but you're willing to have a conversation. We appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, T, for hosting.
You're welcome. I like this idea in the chat, which is Wherever I May Roam series.
Somebody stole that from me.
Did they steal it from you?
They stole that from me, yo. Like, come on, but nah.
Well,
but you know what? Hey,
it from the both of y'all, because I like that Wherever I May Roam series.
Come on, look, y'all know how I am on Twitter. Y'all know I'm Mr. Online. But no, honestly, this was an idea that I started when I was over the NAA social media some years ago, and I just encouraged alums to all across the globe. We even had a young lady. She's non-African American. She graduated from JSU in 2012. She was in med school in London, and she sent a video for Founders Day wearing her Jackson State jacket all the way in London. We had alums who were stationed overseas in the military to participate. So I encourage all alums. That's another way that we can boost alumni engagement. If you are traveling somewhere or if you're stationed overseas, put on some JSU gear and send it to me, because I'm going to give you the shout out that you want. But send it to me on Twitter at jbrooks02 so we can give you a shout out. But if you don't decide to do that, just hashtag DILove on all social media platforms and put Wherever I May Roam, because we're global. JSU Global, this is what we do. So, hey, thank you so much.
I will give my closing because I feel like Jerome kind of discovered me a couple of years ago during the pandemic. And while I love Jerome's bubbly, exuberant personality and I respect it so much, I always tell people that I graduated from Jackson State with a magna cum laude degree and all of the unmitigated gall and audacity that I can summon. So when people ask me where I attended school, it is always the Jackson State University. And there is no other mention. I will not give money to any other institution. Also, I think I love this openness, this support that we can see that people really value these open kind of conversations. And it's nice to know that there are people that are still, it's not just about the homecoming. It's not just about the football. It's not just about the band. It's also about touching these students' lives and doing things with that as well. And also because when people talk about Jackson State, they'll ask me something and I'll look at them and I said, if you ask me anything about football season, homecoming, or anything else, I'm gonna need you to disrespectfully go play in traffic because we are so much more than that. Oh, I tell them, absolutely. You will not disrespect my institution by removing it only to what you believe is entertainment. We are more than entertainers, way more. So no, but love this discourse. Would love to do this again. This was amazing. Kudos to you. This is a beautiful podcast. You onto something here, girl. Love it.
Thank you so much. I want to thank Jerome for reaching out to me and Sedric for bringing this idea to me and letting me facilitate this conversation. I know that there was somebody in the chat that said that JSU students need to be invited to these types of discussions. So a part 2 that is inclusive of Jackson State students sharing their experience, whether they're freshmen or upperclassmen or a recent graduate, maybe getting a panel that involves those 3 and then maybe somebody from SGA that can highlight what are some things that they would be interested in, or what is it that they would like to see from the alumni chapters that will help bridge that gap, that generational gap from one to another. So being able to host this, it was an amazing experience, and I am so grateful. And I'm hopeful that people that have never came to my channel, that you would subscribe and come back and see me again. Check me out. Mr. Myers, do you have any last words for the people in the chat and the panel?
Your voice matters. Your voice matters. And I ask you guys to stay on this journey with me for impactful change, collaborative partnerships, and inclusive leadership. Your voice matters. Vote Sedric Myers, JSUNAA president. Election starts April the 8th. And join us on Saturday, March the 30th. We have a candidate forum. So actually, you probably have the details coming out tomorrow sometime soon. But vote Sedric Myers. Thank you so much. And I can be reached at 713-822-9353 if you want to reach out to me directly for any concerns. You can hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, or just send me an email, cedricmyers@msn.com. Once again, thank you. VI love forever.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. And that was a Mr. Myers voice for all. Thank everybody for tuning in tonight. And we look forward to supporting you in your candidacy and supporting you in that candidate forum and hearing more from you. And then you said April 8th is the date for voting. Is that correct?
Yes, April 8th through the 12th, Monday through Friday, voting starts. So you have more details coming out within the next week or so.
Okay, and we will end this live. I'll actually play the voiceover from Mr. Myers on the way out. Thank you all for tuning in, and you have a good night.
Hello, my JSU family. I am Sedric Myers, a candidate for Jackson State University National Alumni Association President. My why is simple. I want the best for our students, our university, and our alumni community. A voice for all with the fundamental principles of impactful change, collaborative partnership, and inclusive leadership is my platform for a stronger JSU NAA. By implementing impactful changes, we can strengthen our connections with all alumni, support Jackson State University, and make a positive difference in the lives of our alums and the broader community. By forging collaborative partnership with a diverse stakeholders, we can leverage collective resources, expertise, and networks to achieve goals, strengthen the impact, and create meaningful opportunities for alumni engagement. By establishing inclusive leadership opportunities, we can create more welcoming, diverse, and equitable environment where all alumni feel empowered to participate, contribute, and thrive. Together, these principles create a foundation for building a voice for all within our Alumni Association. By embracing impactful change, fostering collaborative partnerships, and practicing inclusive leadership, we can ensure that every member of the alumni community has the opportunity to be heard, represented, and empowered to shape the future of our organization and the Jackson State University we love. Vote Sedric Myers, President of Jackson State University National Alumni Association. The I love forever.